All right, let's get right to it because I saw this clip from Tom Brady. He was on with Joel Klatt of Fox Sports, their lead college football analyst. And anytime the GOAT talks, I love how he talks with purpose. Every time it's very inspiring. He's obviously a great motivational speaker. He was a great leader in locker rooms. And I've honestly been very curious about what he thinks about the state of college football today. And this is the first time I've seen him asked about it. Shout out to Joel, because he put him on the spot and asked him a very poignant question, which was, if you, Tom Brady, were playing today in today's environment where we see players transferring nonstop, we see players going to secure the bag, do you think you would have started and finished your career at Michigan? Have a listen to the GOAT's answer.
It's such a hypothetical situation. The only thing I can answer is to say that based on what my experience was, I wouldn't want it any other way. My college experience was very challenging. It was very competitive. The lessons I learned in college, certainly about competition, those traits transformed my life as a professional. I was ready to compete against anybody because the competition in college toughened me up so much that I had a self-belief and self-confidence in myself that whatever I was faced, I could overcome that. And I think if we take that away from a young student athlete to say, you know what, I know it's tough to compete, but what we're going to do, before you have to compete, we're actually going to put you somewhere else so that you don't have to compete, that is absolutely the wrong thing to do.
I love this from Tom Brady. I absolutely love the comments that he has there because I think we live in this society where you have a lot of snowplow parents. You ever heard of that term?
No, I haven't.
Snowplow parents. So think about what a snowplow does. You just talking about perfect segue. You were talking about the snowstorms that exist up north. So when you get a big storm, the snowplow comes and it clears all the snow and it clears open the path. So you can drive behind it. It's smooth sailing. You don't have to get stuck. You don't have to go through the powder. You don't get stuck. So parents essentially today are working as snowplows. Every time there's an obstacle in front of their child, instead of letting the child work through it, they remove the obstacle. Right. So what Tom Brady's talking about, which is a great example, he had to work his way up the depth chart. He had to compete for his job. He lost out on opportunities, and he had to wait patiently for his opportunity to come. And what I think he's saying, and what I think is exactly what his words, he said he was glad that it toughened him up mentally. We have too many parents now that work as snowplow parents that take every obstacle out of their child's way as opposed to letting them work through it. And that does not do anything to develop the child as an athlete, and maybe even more importantly, as a human being, because we're all going to face obstacles eventually when you get to the real world. I know every parent thinks their child is going to be a professional athlete or a scholarship athlete, but sooner or later, you're going to have to deal with setbacks. You're going to have to deal with adversity. And if you've always had it removed from your path, you will be so ill-prepared for the real world when it comes. And we're doing our players a disservice by not at least advising them to try to stick it out. And that's what bothers me about today's environment of college players specifically. And it goes down to high school too, though. And it even goes down to youth sports. I've got a 12, 13-year-old, and I've seen parents, if they're not getting playing time, what do? They don't say, hey, work harder. They take them out and put them on another team where maybe they're guaranteed a spot.
Yeah, I've got kids that I train that have gone from public school to private school, back to public school, just because the way that, it shook out for them didn't turn out like they wanted. With Brady, man, if that clip isn't the embodiment of everything that makes this guy great, I don't know what is. You know what I like about Brady? He's like the first GOAT that's just finished in like this social media era. So he has that freedom to he's like, I've done what I've done. He understands like the gravity of his voice. Like we don't hear Mike talk too much, Jordan. Right. We don't hear Wayne Gretzky talk. Tiger doesn't do it a ton, but it's so cool. I love that he's active like that. And 100%. He was behind Drew Henson, if you remember, super prospect, Brian Greasy, right? So, yeah, he had all the odds stacked against him. And we talked about this last week. I think what happens on this show, I think you could tell so much about a person based on how they react to sports. I think about it when I'm at the gym playing pickup basketball, the guys who cheat, the guys who call fake fouls, the guys who hit you when they're behind. I think 100% that I'm right on board with everything he said. It calluses you up, toughens you up. I've been through it myself as a walk-on turned scholarship player.
I hadn't heard Brady talk too much about the adversity that he had faced at Michigan until I heard him on with PBD. He had him on at the Vault 2 years ago, and they
Totally.
did kind of a deep dive in what was going through his mind. And he talked about meeting with the team sports psychologist and how he said you have to take advantage of every single rep. He was only getting 2 reps in practice, and how he'd take advantage of every one. He treated him like a Super Bowl. And I think that adversity helped callous his skin and develop him into a mentally tough athlete so that he was ready for his opportunity when it came. If he would have taken that easy road, let's say he would have transferred to, I don't know, a school at Florida State or a school that was guaranteed a starting position, would he have had the same mentality, the same mental fortitude? I honestly don't know. If we see the GOAT, a guy who wins 7 Super Bowls and becomes the greatest quarterback of our era, if he had been allowed to take the easy path, which a lot of parents, sadly, are having their kids take that easy path, and it's to the player's detriment. I do think it's interesting. I'm curious to know about your experience in college too,
right?
Because there were definitely times when I thought about transferring. Now, the rules didn't allow it. So it was like a quick thought, and then it was, do I really want to sit out a year?
Yeah.
Do I, there wasn't money. There was no bag at the end. There wasn't a lure that was going to take me away. Because I think that is extremely challenging. And I do think it's important that Brady said that's a hypothetical that we can't even put ourselves into now. So I don't want to be completely unfair to players today. I just think they get a lot of bad advice sometimes. So I would have these conversations with my dad. And he's my best friend. He's still I go to for any time I need advice. He's somebody I've relied on my whole life. And my dad, even a couple times, he was like, he's like, if you really want to move to another school, he's like, just wait, finish out the season. You can do it after this year. My dad always encouraged me to play baseball. He just thought football was physically rough, and he didn't want to think about me getting injured. He's like, well, you could quit football and you could go play baseball, which was kind of attractive to me at the time. But I am so glad I was benched at Florida State. I threw 3 picks against the Miami Hurricanes at the Orange Bowl. It was my first real big game. I got benched. I was down in the dumps. I kind of wanted to quit. I wanted to throw in the towel in the middle of the season, walk away and be like, screw you guys. You benched me. You didn't even stick with me. It was one bad game. But my dad was like, you're going to finish it. After the season, you can come back. We can revisit this, but you're not going to make an emotional decision now. He said, go out there, earn your job back at practice, which I had to. And I think that experience helped me develop some thicker skin that helped me excel throughout the rest of my career at Florida State, helped me excel when I was benched and cut in the NFL. And it sometimes, in my case, it never meant I was going to be a GOAT or even a great or a very good franchise quarterback in the NFL, but it helped me elongate my career. Like I might have been a one and done. I might not have made the cut the first time around if I was shell-shocked from getting benched when I was at Florida State. But some of those adverse situations and fighting through them are what everybody needs to develop mentally, spiritually, physically. A lot of times, all of it helps people.
And of course, my story and yours are like incredibly different, but the same sort of things happen. Like I was never coveted as a player. You know what I mean? I started playing as a senior, so I never had any opportunities to go. So I walked on. And then at that point, if I even made the decision, like I'm not playing after my first season, I'm going to go somewhere else. There was nowhere else. So that's sort of where it came from. Like, listen, it's going to be here. It's going to be nowhere. And I love the game so much. I just refuse to allow anything to happen. I didn't have the career you had. I spent a cup of coffee in the league, and that was it for me there. But all the things that I encountered from then on, I've taken into my real life. Like I'm a grown-up now, and all the things that made me, it was having to fight every day to get that scholarship because my family couldn't afford to keep me there. We were welfare food stamps people. So it was bad. It was like my mom said, you guys got a little bit of time. After that, we're gonna have to figure this out. My school was expensive. I went there, I got my ass kicked for a year. I earned a full scholarship for 4. I didn't make a big impact. I caught 25 balls as a senior. I continued to get better because I always had like a weird, absurd belief in myself. And all the things that I guess I didn't realize I wasn't very good at the time. I just thought I could do anything. And all that stuff still carries with me today, man. It's about just overcome adversity. Like don't let anybody else tell me what my boundaries are, what I can do. So it's all the same thing. Yeah, I've been hit over and over and over again. I broke my leg when I was making some noise with the Panthers in camp, right? Then I opened a business by myself, and I had butted heads with some of my partners. It didn't turn out great for me. And again, just over and over and over. And it's the things that I'll say it till this day. It's the things that happened to me along the way in athletics, which I did from 4 to 28, that, made me the man that I am today.
You know what I learned? Because I was quite different than you. I was the number 1 prospect coming out of high school. I was inserted in the starting role pretty soon before I got that benching time. You know what I learned up to that point?
Probably minimum. Yeah.
Nothing.
Right.
I thought it was easy. I thought, oh, I'm really good at this.
Yeah.
I could just show up. And that was a rude awakening for me because I had to learn what work was really like. And then even when I got to the NFL, I thought I knew what it took to be a franchise quarterback. And I was kind of given that job. I was in a great situation, getting drafted in the 4th round, becoming a starter in year 2. And I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for it.
You know, I
and
used to
I still
watch you
didn't
there
go
too.
through enough.
I
Oh
mean
man, I'm sorry.
No, it was great. I loved it. This is a cool,
It was that
full
offense
circle thing for me.
set us back a long ways.
Yeah, well.
It was not pretty.
Well, no, I think I agree with you 100%, and I think that's a huge thing to be able to just kind of understand that. Like I had this weird. I'm telling you, it probably hurt me. Like I thought after college I was ready, and I was 26 catches as a senior at a small school. If a team would have been crazy enough to bring me in, I'd have been cut before my first warm-up. Then I got to play arena for a year, and I went down to IMG, and I developed a little bit with great coaching and better players. And then I was a fringe guy, and I didn't stay long, but I didn't get thrown home the first day. But yeah, same thing with you. You probably thought you were good to go, and you weren't, but that's what I felt too. But you notice it after as you get older and you know things start to take a clear picture for you.
So just to hammer the point home, because I actually, the genesis of this conversation actually came from a much lesser known source. There's a coach at Northern Illinois, the head football coach, named Thomas Hammock. Now he beat last year as the head coach of Northern Illinois, went into Notre Dame, and his team beat the Fighting Irish as a 3-touchdown underdog. They were not supposed to win. So he kind of got a little bit of notoriety then. But he's a MAC coach. Like he doesn't get a lot of love. But he was asked about the portal because a lot of his players get plucked from his roster. Once they flash, they go to the bigger schools. Here he is talking about what he learned as a college athlete.
I enjoyed my college experience. I didn't get one dime, but the lessons I learned was more valuable than any money you can ever pay me. And I appreciate that because that is long term. People are losing the fact that this is short term. I coached in the National Football League for 5 years. 5 years, right? Don't lose focus of what the long term. Get your degree, learn valuable lessons that's going to help you in the long term of your life. That's the whole purpose. This is a transition from being a kid to a grown.
Amen, Thomas Hammock. Now I get on my soapbox on these types of topics because I think we've lost our way in a lot of the advice that we're giving young athletes and the things we're prioritizing. It is all about securing the bag. The minute you're in high school, honestly, the players are looking at what university is going to offer me the most money. And when they're in college, it's where can I go to get the biggest bag? And what Thomas Hammock is talking about, make sure you don't lose sight of the overall big picture, which is to get a degree, which is to learn some of those valuable life lessons through adversity, to make sure that you're not taking the quick bag because it might come at the expense of a much bigger bag if you don't go through the process. Too many people want to skip a step. They want to take the easy way out, and they're prioritizing getting the money. And I know, and a lot of people, I put this out there, and it was out there, it was kind of going viral this week, and I saw a lot of people say, oh, it's easy for you to say, coach, you've made money. You're making a lot of money. He makes probably high 6 figures, probably just under $1 million to be the head coach in Northern Illinois. And it's easy, and people take their shots at him. I still think the message remains clear, and I love that he said from his experience what he learned, what you could not put a price tag on it. And I think too many times we lose fact of the lessons learned and just go to chase the bag.
Yeah, I think that's why I'm so one day I flip-flop a lot on the NIL stuff because like I said, when I got in there, it was $50K in the hole one year. I'm working a job on campus, and all I wanted was that scholarship. So when I got the scholarship, it was a massive weight lifted off my shoulders. So now I sometimes when I got that scholarship, I can't tell you the relief it was to know that my food was taken care of, to know that my books were taken care of. I'm telling you, man, I used to find rooms to sleep in on campus to be at off-season workouts. Once I didn't have to worry about that anymore and could morely focus on football, it was a huge relief for me. So it's hard for me to now be like, listen, I need that and 100K. But, you know, that's part of the game. So obviously, as I'm getting older, I start to sound like that old man. You know what I mean?
I'm already there. I'm yelling from the porch.
But then I tell my athletes today, like, you don't realize, man, it's things like it's rooms that I was in at Hofstra, like people that I met there that I can reach back out to today. So you may not see that right now. It didn't turn into $100,000 at Hofstra, but now it's the people that I know and the relationships I have that I can call someone in communications and get myself a studio to practice this and hopefully turn it into a life. It's things like that that you don't realize at the time. There are so many invaluable things, and it's true. It's the lessons I learned. I don't know how I would be if I went in there as a 5-star prospect, because all I know is grind. It's my proudest thing if you hear about my old teammates or old coaches saying, when they'll see me now with family or friends or my fiance or my athletes that I train, and they'll come in and speak and say, you have no idea how hard that kid worked for everything he had. It means as much or more to me than I think a $50,000 check would have after a big game. You know, obviously I don't know, but that's
Right.
how I feel.
I love it.